Normally, I don't vote in Romanian politics for various reasons. Number one, there's no party that is libertarian. There aren't any politicians that even propose something, either than the fact that vote for me because the other guy is worse, or vote for the bicycle thief party because the other one stole more. You know, like, that's the rhetoric. I'm not really excited about it. But this time I was. This time I went to vote because I was really moved this summer when the establishment, the politicians in charge, were very worried about my health. You see, in their infinite compassion and in their infinite caring, they locked me in my own house and shut down all the businesses in order to protect me. In order to keep me safe, they decided that people like myself should be indoors. And I was, you know what, like, I rarely get to see a government that cares about me so much. And, you know, I just felt the desire to return the empathy now. I wanted to show some compassion for them, right? Because recently there's been a lot of talks on about how going to church is dangerous, and how leaving your house is problematic, and heaven forbid if you plan on having a Christmas gathering with your loved ones, right? So I'm thinking here, and it's like, okay, but the establishment, the people that care about me, they have to go to work, right? I mean, when everyone else has to sit at home, they have to go to work, is their job. And man, like, their workplace doesn't look very safe to me. Doesn't look very secure. It's like if a person starts coughing there, yeah, I don't like the fact that the establishment puts their health at risk. You know, I genuinely just have so much empathy for them that I don't want them to get sick. As such, I went to vote for the opposition. I went to vote for the bad people, so that the people in power, the establishment, gets to stay home now, because they deserve it. I mean, they worked a lot. You know, being a politician is a very stressful career, and stress lowers the immune system. A lot of them are elderly, so that means that they have a higher risk factor. You know, why send them to the parliament where they can rest their health? No, you know what? Hashtag stay at home. Hashtag stay safe. But all the jokes and the sarcasm aside, you know, like, I understand, okay, locking down and wearing masks, every European country did it. I wouldn't expect Romania to be the country that breaks the trend, right? Like, no, okay, man. What I didn't understand are the following. This is a little bit too complicated for me. Maybe someone can explain. Why did they decide to sick the cops, the militia, on the elderly? Like, the amount of fines that they were giving for a country where the elderly make barely $100 a month were astonishing. I mean, $2,000 worth of fine if you leave the house and you forget your ID at home, or if you leave the house and you do not have, like, a signed consent in order to tell the cops where you're heading. You actually had to sign an entire paper under perjury, saying that you're leaving the house to do grocery shoppings or taking out the trash. And if you didn't write it properly, if you forget to write something, $2,000 fine. I think that's a little bit too much, you know, a little bit of an excess. Then something else that I didn't get is, like, all right, people are being locked down. You're not allowed to go to your field to plow if you're a farmer living in the city. Like, you're not allowed to just drive through the countryside because you're endangering people. But it's okay to bus people around to Germany so they can pick asparagus. Like, the government actually authorized from Suceava, one of the most infected cities, to just bus people around all the way to the airport. And there was massive scandal in the media about the human rights abuses that the Romanian workers had to face when they actually reached Germany. Because all of a sudden, you see, they couldn't choose the company where they could work. It was just signed contract by the government. They couldn't go back home because, oh, it's a pandemic. I mean, like, and they confiscated their IDs once they got there, so they couldn't leave. You know, and then they scammed them regarding the payment. Like, all of this was discussed in the Romanian media. Anyway, what I want to say, that was a little bit bizarre, isn't it? Okay? And finally, something that I don't understand. Christmas is bad, okay? Going to church is evil. But Black Friday is okay? I'm not talking about the Black Friday where you order from home. No, like actual stores just packed with people during Black Friday. That wasn't mentioned at all in the press. No. Like that was fine. Yeah. So you know, given the situation, given how they manage the crisis, I was a little bit disappointed. And finally, the Romanian president, which according to the Romanian constitution should be more like a referee, so an impartial person that just mediates between the parties. Basically, even according to the constitution, the role of the Romanian president is more like a figurehead that represents the state with other world leaders. Like, that's his primary attribution. No, in this case, he goes out and talks about how the Social Democrats are a reactionary party, and then you have progressive parties like USR and the National Liberals, or how I like to call them, the Never Liberal Party. Okay, so there's two types of people. There's progressives and there's reactionaries, and it's like, I see. So you're endorsing the opposition now. Like reactionary is a communist term. You know, it's a communist dog whistle. It's a communist insult. It's like statist. A statist is what the ANCAPs use. Like when someone uses statist, you're thinking of an ANCAP. You know, whatever. You know, that's neither here nor there. The most lulzy moment, though, the most funny moment, is that you have this party called Gold, like our, which didn't manage to do well in the polls, almost at all. But they got 10%. 10% for a new party is huge, like massive. So I hear screaming from the other room. I thought that someone is going to die. And when I went to the other room, my girlfriend was watching this famous Romanian propaganda journalist, and he just couldn't understand. Like his head was literally red. Like he had like the face of malice upon him, wondering like how is it possible? Who is this party? What is this party? I'm like, motherfucker, aren't you the political analyst? Like, shouldn't you tell me what our is? Like, really? He just couldn't wrap his head around how these guys got 10%. And apparently they're far right. They're far right. And I'm like going on their websites, like, why are they far right? Well, apparently they're for liberty. Horrible. They're for supporting Romanian businesses. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh, supporting Romanian business. Why would you do that? You know, like Romania is not a country. It's just a plot of land where business transactions get to occur, and you don't get to pick and choose, unless you're picking and choosing multi-corporations like Lidl. By the way, like if you go Black Friday at Lidl, COVID is at the door, I understand, according to the Romanian government. Like they didn't say it's a problem. No. Yeah, you can support those corporations, but Romanian farmers? Are you crazy? Oh no. And they're also Christian. Christians in politics. Can you imagine? In Europe. Oh my God. Horrible people, yes. Probably the most reactionaries of the all reactions, huh? Yeah, it was very funny to see them get 10%. The Romanian far right, my ass. It's good that they're there. They need to inconvenience things a little bit. Yeah, and apparently they don't want to make an alliance with the establishment or the opposition. But what's very interesting is that as they're coming out and they're talking, they talk about the polls, and the polls were dead wrong. And here's why the polls are wrong, okay? Like most parties, they need funding. They need people to invest in them. And if you have like a low percent in the polls, it kind of scares the investors away. It kind of convinces people not to go out and vote. Because like, why would you vote for a party that doesn't have a chance in getting in? But what's very interesting is that apparently they were contacted the day before by the other parties which had the correct polls. So apparently there's two types of polls in Romania. I don't know if it's the same in other countries, but this is the case here. There's one type of polls for the plebeians that the journalists spread to the public, and there's like some internal polls that the actual political parties get to have, which are legit. I found that to be highly interesting. Another thing is a scandal which took place. Apparently the people from outside Romania, they get to vote, right? And they vote at Romanian embassies all over the world. And those votes then are taken through carriers, like, you know, delivery companies, and brought into the country. They lost 10,000 votes in the mail. Like, this is a major scandal right now. The government doesn't really like talking about it, but this party, our, said they're going to sue the government. Losing votes in the mail. I understand that can't happen. Like, I watch the American media, that can't happen. So if it happened, it means it's malice, right? We're going to prove it in courts, our says. But yeah, so we flatten a little bit on the exit poll curve, okay? A little bit of health for the establishment. Send the bad people to risk getting sick in the parliament, while the good people need to stay a little bit at home and stay safe, right? Yeah, it's, in my opinion, I think this was a really good election. I'm not going to go through all of the Romanian parties so you can understand. It's just like this whatever. I don't know anything about our. Hopefully they're going to fulfill their campaign promises. They claim they don't want to make deals under the table. And when they found out that they got 10%, they were singing something in the like of, better to be dead than to be a communist. And I'm thinking, wow, that's very progressive, isn't it? Because to be reactionary, it means you don't want progress. Like, you want things to stay the same, right? But in my country, preserving the way of life that my parents had, like being a conservative, would actually mean being a communist. Because my parents lived through communism. It was like they grew up under it, they lived through it, right? So if you're conservative, I guess you want to maintain communism. Being progressive means moving away from that. So clearly they're not reactionary in nature. Unlike the other parties. I wonder what the Romanian president would have to say about that. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, share it around if you found it interesting, funny, or amusing. I find amusing the fact that the journalists are angry. Very angry. Very much so. Like, even when wearing a mask, the guy is angry. Like, he looks angry. You know, I think, like, for his own health, the government needs also to... you know, like how they shut down restaurants and how they shut down hotels. I think they need to shut down the press. I mean, why is it an essential business? I don't think it's an essential business. I mean, look, the guy is under a lot of stress. And as we mentioned before, stress lowers the immune system. Not a good thing, right? Like, I don't want something bad to happen to me. It was like, again, risk factors, elderly man. You know, he needs to stay safe at home. And relax, like everyone else. Like, and when the waiters and all the restaurant owners get to finally go back to work, then the press can go back to work as well, right? Or, you know, like, no, you know, my bad. Like, the press is an essential business. No, how can I pick on the press? You know, like, what would people do without the press? They would watch someone like me. Horrible. I suggest they just don't get paid then. You know, they have to donate all their money as a show of solidarity. Because we're all in this together, right? Like, we're all together, and we're going to pass this together. So we should show solidarity with the working class. If they don't get money, you know, we shouldn't get money either, huh? I would donate all of my cash to the working class if the press did the same. I would be the first to do it. For the duration of the lockdown, of course. After the lockdown is removed, then everyone gets to have their money again. Huh? Isn't this a good idea? Equality. Is equality bad? All of a sudden, equality is bad, isn't it? Oh. I see. So equality is only when the rich get richer. That's equality. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video.